Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the DreamHack Open 2015 here in Valencia, Spain. We have 64 players remaining in our StarCraft II tournament, duking it out for cash and WCS points over the course of this weekend. Only one can walk away with the title of champion for DreamHack Open Valencia here in 2015. It's going to be an amazing weekend with lots of StarCraft. Good afternoon. I'm Nathan, Nathanius Fabricant. I'll be your panel host for this weekend. And before we continue, I want to give a big thanks to our awesome sponsors, whom without we could not do this tournament, them being EIZO, Razer, Intel, and Monster Energy. I'm joined by three wonderful gentlemen, a couple making your returns, a new face to the DreamHack Open. How's everybody doing? I'll start with you, Kwang Hee-woo, Wax Angel. Your second time here. How you feeling?
Yo, I'm glad to be back. I guess you could have any pro gamer at this desk, but they're all busy playing in a tournament.
You know, it's there's a lot of StarCraft going on this weekend, that's for sure. Moonglade, how's it feel to be back here in Valencia?
It is great to be back. First time for Valencia, but great to be back with DreamHack once again. I love these tournaments. They're always so exciting, and yeah, really looking forward to today.
Yeah, and Brendan Valdez, first time coming out here for Korea, first non-Korean tournament. Man. Excited?
Super excited. I'm so happy to be here in Valencia. Beautiful city. So many great players coming here for StarCraft II. I'm just happy to be on the desk.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of games we'll be covering. Of course, we're going to take everything, starting with the round of 64 today, all the way down to the top 8, where we'll have the big show tomorrow. And where, of course, we will also be joined by Todd and Smix as we really get down to the thick of things. There's a lot of good players here. We have a lot of great games coming up. Like I said, we already have our first match information, as you guys can see at the bottom of the screen. But I wanted to quickly poll you guys, get your thoughts as we get into this tournament. You know, there's a couple of the big names missing that we had playing at DreamHack Tour as well. You know, we have GSL and the Star League starting up in Spenu in Korea as well. So who do you look at as the big players? Who are the big Papa players here in this tournament? Kwangi.
I mean, the thing about this tournament that's unique is that there's really no one who stands out who's like a big kind of take it all. Like last tournament and Tour, it was exciting and all, but at the end of the day, you sort of knew that Parting was going to go home with it. There were a lot of fun games, but it seemed a bit foregone. But this tournament, there's so many guys who could win this one, and it's I really have no idea who's going to win.
Okay, so no immediate favorite player here. A bit different from our precast discussion. Give me some thoughts.
I think I scared him off for the precast, but looking at the players that are here, specifically the Korean players, I think Fantasy, Gumiho, and I hope Curious can do pretty well this tournament. I think they're all very strong at the moment. They're all playing very well. Curious maybe a little less than the other two Terrans, but you know, he had a great run in GSL recently. I think he can certainly lift his game and maybe even get a win this time. Yeah,
and just jumping on the Dead Pixels train, I think any of those three players who are coming here, Patience and True, as well as Fantasy, those players, especially True, he showed his face over there at the Kespa Cup, you know, played a really strong game against Dream. He's shown that his ZVT is pretty good. You know, there's a decent amount of Terrans, not the most, but if he gets good matchups against Terrans, maybe he goes ahead, you know, gets the hype behind him and plays pretty well. Outside of him, you know, another Zerg Hyun played really well. He's definitely another guy on the cards. He just 3-0'd Dark in the challenge matches over there in SSL. So he's definitely at least on his game for ZVZ. I would love to see him in other matchups as well.
Yeah, another really important thing about this tournament is that as your WCS cycle winds down, WCS points are becoming more scarce. So about half the WCS spots for BlizzCon have been determined, but the lower half, you know, it's anyone's game. And there's a lot of guys in this tournament who could really use the points. Like right now, I think on the bubble, Fantasy, he's number 16 in rankings. He's playing here. And he has GSL left, and of course, you know, if he wins GSL, he's confirmed. But you know, winning GSL is pretty damn hard.
Yeah,
so difficult to say the least. And there's quite a few non-Korean competitors as well that are looking to get that, you know, that glory spot of being the non-Korean to qualify for WCS. And you know, that brings up to question we have to talk about guys like Bunny, like Lilbo, especially as this is a really big opportunity for them, since we don't have, you know, Hydra here, you know, a Parting here to knock everybody down in their path.
Yeah, I mean, Lilbo has a great shot at, you know, he's sitting out there. He was a finalist at WCS the last season, so I think he has a great shot here. He's certainly one of those foreign hopes this time around. A lot different to last year when it was mostly Snoot and Bunny. Like, he's really lifted his game this year. It's really exciting to see. So, yeah, maybe he can do it this time around. I mean, it's not the strongest Korean presence here.
Yeah. So looking at outside of the players that we've already kind of discussed, by the end of the day, there will be 8 players. We've kind of picked out maybe 4 or 5 ones we think are quite good. Who's looking to upset? Who coming here is everyone going to be doubting a little bit that maybe we're going to see go further? First thoughts, Wax Angel?
I think you guys are kind of overlooking Soxery a little bit, maybe the previous champion, because he had a really good run at Homestory Cup, and he showed that he's kind of a creative player. He knows how to abuse the new ladder maps pretty well. And in the group stages, all the vetoes are probably going to go to the new maps. But once you get to the deep stages tournament, when you can only veto 1 map apiece, then I think he's going to catch a lot of people off guard.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, definitely a really good point, especially for the Protoss players in this entire tournament. A lot of the Korean players, especially Classic, losing a series over at Cusp Cup. I think it was to Flash. Yeah. He went ahead and went on Twitter and he's like, "No, these maps, they suck. I don't want to play on them." It still stands to say like there's been more time now for these players, especially the Protoss players, to practice and try to figure out new strategies for the map and see what they can do. But we'll see how they do overall.
Yeah, it's a very interesting discussion because these are also the maps that'll be played throughout the rest of the year in BlizzCon, and we can actually take a look at the schedule as well for any of you that are wondering what exactly the plan is today. We're going to take you, as I said, all the way through to the round of 16. That's where we're going to finish everything up. We'll be bringing you 3 matches from the round of 64, the second group stage, 1 match from the round of 32, and then we'll split the round of 16. So there'll be a lot of StarCraft to watch. We'll be going all day, and then tomorrow we'll have the top 8. Very interesting, of course. As you guys mentioned, things like the maps coming into play.
Oh yeah.
Are there what other factors are we looking at here as far as this tournament setup goes? I mostly think about in regards to a lot of players traveling out here, a lot of players traveling out to other tournaments as well. Is this the biggest focus for all the players here?
Well, just to jump on that question a bit, you think of players like Hyun. He's been to so many tournaments like this. He is so used to this. I don't think that guy gets jet lagged ever. He's probably going to come in here and just act like he's playing at his house. He's probably going to be really on his game. Other guys that don't travel as much, maybe Fantasy, we talk about him. He's a really strong player, but he's not traveling as much as Hyun, let's say. Maybe he won't have as easy a time overall.
Also, just with the format change from last year to a larger bracket stage and not so much of a big group stage, we have to see how the round of 32 brackets form up, because there could be a corridor where we see like a Forlorn Hope make a deep run to the semis, maybe even the finals.
Yeah, and that also plays into a little bit of potentially, what a lot of people talk about is like the DreamHack magic when it comes to the non-Korean players being able to make these deep runs, since we do start the best of 5s much earlier in the tournament, starting with at the top 8, not only at the final. So things get a little bit more difficult to get a quick one on someone. But any other X Factor players that we're looking out for?
Tasia, we haven't really spoken about Tasia at all, and this is a guy that used to win a lot of DreamHacks back in the day and a lot of international tournaments as well. And this is certainly his kind of tournament. He doesn't do very well in like the Korean leagues, the ones that you have to sit down and prepare for a week or whatever. He's the guys, he can do like these weekend tournaments, much like Hyun, and he used to, but he just hasn't had that success lately.
Yeah.
It is summertime. It is summertime.
It is summertime.
If there's a time where Tasia is supposed to be good, it would be right about now. So maybe we do have the group brackets actually available to take a look at and just kind of see where some of these matchups may end up lying. I guess first thoughts, any of these players particularly stand out? Do we have a group that we say we're actually not sure? Usually it's a bit difficult to tell at this stage.
Yeah, having a quick look at them. Group D looks pretty ruthless. You got like Lilbo, Bunny, and Arium. I guess that's pretty tough. One of those players is going to have to go out early. Besides that, there's not really any major groups of death this early on, I guess.
I'm thinking about Penguin, man. That poor guy. He just baited through, and he gets straight into Group B with Fantasy. And even Maru in there, it's like, oh, man.
Yeah, I think a Laser's a pretty tough pick for him, too. I think Penguin actually has to play Fantasy first. That's that's going to be fun.
What a draw, man.
All right, that's pretty unlucky. But besides that, it looks pretty evenly evened out. Nothing too bad.
Speaking of Tasia again, like, isn't that this basically the Tasia cycle? Like every year this happens. He sort of gets, for 6 months, he kind of sucks. Everyone says he's washed up, and then, so out of nowhere in the summer, he hasn't practiced. He just starts winning tournaments, and it always starts in summer at a DreamHack.
I mean, that's like the whole thing, though. That's what makes DreamHack so crazy, is that this stuff happens and there's nobody ever really sees it coming. And his group, you have the good Liquid presence here, actually, which is always very nice to see. A good French presence as well. And even getting some of the Spanish representation. And when we talk about for example the first series that we're going to be playing later on, and there's a lot of diversity here, but it doesn't seem like this is a group stage where any fan favorite should get knocked out super early.
Right. Well, look at where Majestic is. He's with TLO and Terminator. That's unfortunate as well. That's a pretty tough group.
Yeah. Do you guys think the Spanish players have a chance of making it out of this group stage? Like one of them somehow?
Well, we were just talking about Majestic, but I mean that group is so brutal, man.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say if anyone could really make it out. I mean, you see the two really favorite players in each group. They've kind of evenly been put in them. And they're really going to have to upset someone to get out of that group.
I mean, I looked at Curious's group. I think he's a sure favorite to get through even. Like, I didn't notice any other big hitters there, so we should be seeing him definitely getting through.
I got to ask you guys, so you never really see the generic bench warmers, but they decided to send them all here.
It's interesting, right?
What was that? It was kind of like a reward trip, or they're like, no, we're not playing Pro League right now. We might as well send
just
our guys
head off
out
to
there.
Valencia, go out on the beach. Don't even worry about the StarCraft.
It's kind of weird. They get a holiday because they're not performing well enough to play in Pro League or Star League or GSLs. It's kind of an interesting way to look at things. Maybe they look at it as like an important time off for these guys, so they get sent over here to like play an international tournament, which was arguably a bit easier than they would like in a Korean league.
Yeah. It's a nice opportunity for those guys, to say the least. And we are actually going to take a look at this upcoming matchup that we have. It is going to be, I believe, Majestic actually going up against TLO.
Yeah.
Some PVZ. We get one of our Spanish players in here to kick things off against, I guess you could say, one of the crowd favorites overall for StarCraft.
Definitely. One of the foreign favorites for so long now. TLO, great Zerg player. And yeah, Majestic, I can't say I know much about this player. He's one of these guys that hasn't had much, I guess, presence in the international scene.
He's a ladder hero.
A ladder hero.
He did make Challenger like in season 1 this year, but after that, he hasn't been able to make it through the qualifiers. Interestingly enough, though, obviously he's the big underdog here, but the best career result he has was at DreamHack Valencia last year, where he made top 16. Obviously, he
home field advantage.
He needed a little bit of bracket luck because he didn't face any of the tough Koreans until the round 16, where he got knocked out by Leenock. But it's Leenock. You can't blame him for losing to Leenock.
No,
you can't.
Certainly not.
I do want to ask you guys as we get ready, as we look into this match before we jump into it, because it's the start of the tournament, and you mentioned the way that the brackets work out. Back in tour, we had Hearthstone make it into the top 8, didn't have to play any big Koreans before getting there. Of the non-Korean players participating in this tournament, who are you guys picking to go the furthest?
I think Lilbo, for me, I think he's going to make it far in this one. He's been very successful lately. I think he can keep going with it.
Yeah, I think Lilbo too.
Yeah, I think across the board,
these guys just copying me.
Pretty good.
I mean, to be fair, he beat what most people would have said is already the best non-Korean player in Bunny
and
during
he just
season 2.
runner-up WCS.
Yeah. But there's a lot of arguments that you can make about, who he ran into on the way there as well.
It's not like he's indestructible either. He's certainly lost a lot coming up to this tournament. I mean, looking at his recent stats, he's played in a lot of different online and offline tournaments, and he hasn't won them all for sure. He's not like he's rock solid foreigner. He's not going to beat everyone. But
who knows? He could have just had like that one, big WCS tournament. And maybe he'll like fall off here. We don't really know.
There's also the other French players that are also doing very well. Like all the French players right now are doing fantastic. Like Marine Law, Daishi, all these guys can make it far. They did at Home Story Cup, so why not here?